We're destined for good things. We're destined for good things. We're destined for good things.
Hello and welcome to the Q2 Theory. On today's episode, we have a special guest, Melia. Say hi, everybody. Hi.
Hi.
And I said say hi to everybody, but it's really you saying hi to everybody. But anyway, Melia's here, and we're going to be talking about having happiness. All this laughing we're doing, having happiness in the midst of the storm. It's actually kind of interesting that we're talking about happiness in the midst of the storm right now, because literally outside of my window, there's a storm going on right now. It is raining and downpouring. I actually originally was thinking about doing this video outside, but that got rearranged. but so it's kind of some real life application of what we'll be talking about right now. And so to start off, the first thing that we wanted to just sort of go into is the simple fact that storms happen to everybody. You know, storms happen whether you want them to or not, whether we're planned for them, whether we're not planned for them. Storms, challenging times, these are things that all of us go into and all of us have. And a personal story of mine in which I had a really hard time I had to go through, it happened when I was a lot younger. I was like 15 maybe, around 15 or 16 years old. But my dad had recently quit his high-paying job as an engineer and had started his own company. And during the first few months of of that transition, we had fallen into some really hard times as a family. And it was actually to the point where no lights on, lights were off. My siblings and I weren't getting new clothes, like any of that sort of stuff. But when we were in that situation, like literally, my mom was like, we ate mostly PB&J sandwiches. But my mom, the one hot meal that we had that I remember during this time, my mom cooked it over candles. It was spaghetti. I like remember that meal like it was yesterday. But when we were going through this circumstance, it was hard. It was trying, but our mindset was not one of negativity. We kept a positive mindset. And what I mean by that is that, we stayed looking ahead and expected things to change for the better. And actually, eventually it actually did. We came out of that storm. And one of the things we'll be talking about is, that sort of transition between being in the storm, that happiness in the storm, and then, how to achieve that happiness in the storm, and that it can actually help you on your way out of the storm. So with that being said, Melia, I believe she has a story to tell, just a personal one concerning herself as far as storms and being through a storm is concerned.
So when I was like you, a few years younger, I was probably like 16 or 17. I went through a breakup, and it was the first one I had been through, and it was really difficult and challenging, especially because my family was also going through a transition and my parents were being divorced. My dad had just had a lot of like financial stuff come up, so we weren't doing as well as we had been. I mean, it wasn't anything like what you went through, but we were definitely challenged by that. And so it seemed like everything in my life was kind of falling apart, and there were days where I wasn't dedicated to finding happiness, but overall my main mindset was to create something out of all of the chaos and allow it to help me become greater. And it really has blessed my life in ways that I couldn't have even imagined at the time. So we all go through these storms, and often they're huge blessings.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's actually an important thing, is realizing, the good even within the bad and stuff that's going on. I can say personally for me, something good that came out of that circumstance that I went through with my family is I'll be open with you. When before that happened, my again, dad's an engineer, high level job, he's got the city office, all that stuff, he was pulling in money, anytime my siblings or I needed clothes, we had them, we wanted toys, we had them, we had, all of that those sort of things that, you would want to have or you would enjoy as a kid. But one thing about myself having all of these things is I kind of had a sort of hardness of my heart, a sort of callousness in my heart towards people who weren't as advantaged as I was. And one thing that going through the situation that I went through, a positive thing that came out of it is it softened my heart, and it truly just, gave me humility, which I think is a very important part of the puzzle. We'll probably do a video on that another time. But, it just, it gave me a lot of humility, and that was a big positive, that I took away from that. Like, since then, a lot of my life has been, volunteering, and you've seen some of my volunteering videos, just, helping homeless and just doing all of these different things. And I can honestly say that a part of what led me to where I am now, as far as my heart for people and my outreach for people, is, having gone through this and having that sort of softening of the heart. So my point being, even through going through storms, like Melia said, there can be positives that you can take, from these circumstances and from these situations that can actually help you going forward and improve you. And so with that being said, and by the way, everyone, so I've got like my tripod, my camera's on the tripod, and then beneath it is my phone, and I'm Skyping with Melia through there. So if I look down, that's why.
Yeah, and I'm just looking to the side. So I'm looking at him and looking at you. So that's what's going on.
All right, so then the next part that we want to go into is just why it's important to have happiness in the storm. Okay, so we all know that we all have storms. That's something that everybody goes through. That's something we've been through. But then what we want to go into now is, why is it so important to have happiness in the midst of the storm?
So one thing that I've learned about is that our emotional state actually influences our cognitive abilities and like our physical function. So when we're stressed out and worried and tense, we're not able to think as clearly, we're not able to, like, our immune system is weakened. That's a huge reason, is just for your own well-being, to find that peace. Even when things aren't going the way we want them to be going, it's still important to try to take care of ourselves. So that's a huge thing that I try to remember, is that it helps me to deal with all of it
I think that's
in a better
extremely
way, because
important.
if I'm,
Me to deal with all of it in a better way, because
Yeah.
yeah.
What about you? Like, what are some of the reasons that you think it's important?
Well, in addition to that, because that's really good. I actually was not aware of the immune system factor. Touching on that for a little bit, lots of the times we think that, we think of stuff like happiness or like these sort of emotional well-being and stuff, and sometimes we think that the advantages or repercussions from doing or not doing these things are purely mental or purely intangible. But that's actually a good point that you bring, is that there can actually be very physical, benefits or repercussions from ignoring or tending to these different things. So that's really important right there. And what I'll say, coming in on that, is that as far as like one of the big importances of finding the happiness in the midst of the storm, having the happiness in the midst of the storm, I explain it best with a metaphor. And so we're using the term storm, to represent, the storm, these trials, these challenges that we have in life. And it's funny because, when you think of the word storm, you think of water, you think of lightning, you think of rain, like it's literally going on outside of my window right now. but I think for our purposes here, another great metaphor to use is fire, like a furnace, thinking of our challenges like a furnace. And the reason being is because, one of the things furnaces are good at, one of the reasons we even use them, is because they, disintegrate trash. They disintegrate rubble. They impurities. They get rid of impurities. And the reason that I find having happiness through the midst of the storm, through the midst of these challenges, these fiery trials, is because for example, when you take a diamond and you put it through the fire, the diamond might get uncomfortable. The diamond might be, it's surrounded by heat. There's flames licking at it. There's flames lapping at it. But at the end of the day, when you take that diamond out of the fire, when it's passed through the flames, the only thing that's left from the diamond is, the only thing that was left in the furnace, rather, are the impurities that were inside of that diamond. So you see, the diamond stays strong through the fire. It's only the impurities that get burned away. For example, my impurity with being, pretty prideful, if you will, or uppity or snippety or whatever you might want to call it, that was an impurity of myself, within myself, that was burned away by going through this fiery trial. In the same way, we each have these different impurities that are burned away, but the only way to come through the fire as a better diamond is to go through it in the first place with what I like to call is the diamond mindset. And the diamond mindset is not one of a quitter. It is one that is happy. It is one that is joyful. It is one that chooses to look to the future in a positive light, as opposed to quitting because the current circumstances are so hot or so challenging. And so again, one of the reasons, to sum that all up, one of the reasons that I believe it's important to have happiness in the midst of the fire is because, in the midst of the storm, is because it helps us to go through it and come out a better person.
I think that is huge. Definitely, a mindset. What we focus on is definitely one of the biggest factors in what we create out of our circumstances. It's also kind of, when you're going through difficult things, your energy is precious, and if we're wasting time on worrying and stressing and focusing on everything that's going wrong, it's a waste of those precious resources.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
And we're worth, every single person is valuable. We're worth the happiness and proving to ourselves that we're strong enough to focus on the good and the beautiful and that which the treasure is within that.
Right. Yeah, because you see, piggybacking on that, the diamond, when it goes through the challenge, when it goes through that furnace, the diamond knows that it's coming out. There's no fire that's going to destroy the diamond. The only thing that will happen to the diamond from the fire is it's going to get more pure. So when you have that mindset, when you're going through the trials, when you're going through the challenges, and you have the mindset, this trial, as hot as it may be, as hard as it may be, I am not going to be destroyed by it. The only things that will fall away from me are the things that are the impurities, the things that don't need to be there. I will come out of this a better person, a better me. And it's that mindset, that diamond mindset, again, that'll definitely give you that advantage and that edge. And so we've started getting a little bit into how to do it. We've actually got a few sources to bring up to you, but we started getting a little bit into that. But in summation, there's physical benefits for being that happy person, being that person who has that diamond mindset in the midst of their challenges. And there's the emotional benefits, there's the mental benefits, and there's also the physical benefits. And so you might be hearing this and you're wondering, okay, so then yes, we've got trials. Yes, it's important to have that happiness in the midst of the trials. But then how do we achieve it? How do we get this happiness in the midst of the trials? How does that work? Melia actually had something, a source that was really, really good that I'd like her to start off with.
Okay, so one place that really reinforces for me this diamond mindset is a website called HeartMath.com. It's actually an institute dedicated to researching the effects of your emotions and essentially your heart rate and other things on your well-being. And something that they emphasize is that when you are in a place of peace and appreciation, everything, all of your functions and your outlook is uplifted. So this website is amazing if you're looking for resources. We'll share some links with you, but one of the main things that stood out to me is that we have the power to activate positive emotion, and it really comes down to our decision. So something that I do is I really try to focus, and it kind of sounds cheesy, but I try to focus on gratitude and appreciation. And that is a huge catalyst for transforming my perspective from one of feeling like I'm a victim of my circumstances to feeling like I am in control of the outcome. So that's something that's huge for me. What about you? You had some cool research as well.
Yeah, and it was one piece in particular by Dr. Robert C. Solomon, and basically it talked about emotions. And more specifically, like Melia was saying, agreeing with that research, it talked about how our emotions are very largely choice. He just went into some of the common ways that we think about emotions and some of the common statements that we make, whether it's he made me mad, or or she did this that made me mad, or whatever, I had no choice but to feel, or whatever, these sort of statements that we generally make in day-to-day circumstances, and he actually basically just showed the evidence and the proof that at the end of the day, it's really a choice of ours. There's a lady by the name of Joyce Myers who actually gives a great example that sort of is an example for this. And basically what she gave the example for was this. There was a lady who she had working for her, and inside of her company, her nonprofit organization. And this lady was just the sweetest lady, the kindest lady. Whenever Joyce Meyer was around, the lady was, is there anything you need? Is there anything I can get you? What can I do for you? Joyce Meyer never saw this woman mad or anything like that, when she was there. But interestingly enough, it wasn't the same situation for those who were working under the lady. So just as the lady was completely nice and respectful to Joyce Myers, her boss, she was the reverse to all of the employees who were serving underneath her. And so Joyce Myers was getting, constant complaints about the conduct that this lady had. And at first it was, it shocked her because, from her experiences with the lady. But she ended up just having a conversation with the lady, and presented, the feedback she had been getting and stuff. And the lady, broke down in tears and was saying, she had been, she knows what she's doing is wrong and she wants to stop, but she can't, and, things like that. So she was basically saying these sort of responses or outputs that she was giving was something that was sort of ingrained, something she was working to control, basically. And what Joyce Myers said to her was, no, you can control it because you control it around me every day. And just like if I were to walk in the room, you automatically change the way that you're acting, you automatically change your tone. It's because your tone and the way you were acting weren't forcing themselves on you. You were choosing to act that way, or when I was around, you were choosing not to act that way. So basically, with the point of what she was saying is that it was a choice for the lady the entire time. It was her choice, and in the same way, just realizing whether we're giving out positive emotions or negative emotions, these are what we are choosing to do. Okay, and so with that being said, we're realizing that happiness is a choice. And you can choose to be happy even when things around you are pushing you to make a choice in the opposite direction. And so when we're looking at it, for example, and actually one of the ways that I found to help as far as being happy, inside of the midst of a storm or a challenge, is simply finding something within it that you recognize as a positive. That's a big thing. Like, for example, when I was going through the trial again, with my family, one thing that I actually enjoyed about the whole that whole situation is, even though didn't have money, didn't have lights on, PB&J sandwiches all day, right? But we got to spend a lot of time as a family. Like, no joke, within that those few months, we spent more time as a family than probably half a year to almost an entire year before that combined. It was a lot of family time that we got to spend, and to me, that was a positive. That was something that I was able to look onto and say, you know what, there's a positive. That's something that I can be happy about. And when there's no electricity for TV, we're sitting around, telling stories or telling jokes, or just things like this, that I chose to focus on those things. I chose to put my mind towards those things, and it helped me have a positive outlook that I wouldn't have had if I was focusing on the cold showers or the no TV or the XYZ. And so being able to focus on those positives, that was, for me, that was a great way that I found that happiness in the midst of that challenge.
That actually made me remember an experience that I just recently had, where I went on a trip to visit my friend, and the day that I got there, I got really sick. And so here I am in this unfamiliar place. I'm miserable, and I'm not comfortable because I'm not in my bed, and I don't have the people I love around me except for my friend, but she's working all day. So I chose to find things about it that I liked. For instance, just being in a new place and having some time just to myself. And that really shifted the whole thing. It could have been a miserable experience, but instead I look back and I learned a lot from it, and it really helped me to grow as a person.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the important things. So you want to always, and actually, I would encourage you to do this. So it's quite possible that some of you watching the video are going through a trial right now. Like, you actually can think of one or maybe even more challenges or situations that you are going through right now. And what I would encourage you to do is take time, take a sheet of paper or whip out your phone and type on it or write on it, the trial or the challenge that you're going in right now, that you're going through. Write it at the top, whatever it is. And then underneath that, in the lines, put some positives. Search for the positives. Search for the positives. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, oh, there's nothing positive about what's going on right now. There is no positive that I can find from it. Sit down, choose to sit, and choose to think. Search for the positives. Because one of the defining characteristics of a diamond mindset is that you find the positives. You choose to search for the positives. It's kind of like that phrase everybody's heard, the glass is half full versus the glass being half empty, or in my case, like a quarter full versus 75% empty, right? And so basically, searching for those positives is a really, really big thing. And so I would encourage you, take down, again, write down the positives and choose to get happy about those positives. And and choose to focus on those positives. And there's actually something else I wanna go into, but before I go into that, I like to counterbalance something really quickly. So now, when I'm saying, we've heard me say it, you've heard Melia say it, focusing on the positives. Now, we're not saying that you completely neglect recognition of what's going on as far as the challenge itself. Okay, for example, my family and I didn't pretend like we had lights on. Okay, we understood lights were off. We understood that we had to do what was necessary to make money, make some resources, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in order to get financially back on the right track financially. But at the same time, while doing this, while making those progressions to get through the trial, you don't set up camp in the trial. You don't build your house in the challenge. Too many people do that, and then they end up in their 40s or in their 50s or whatever, and then they wake up one day and realize, hey, I'm still in this thing. The storm's still around me, or the flame's still licking at my licking at me here. And then you have different like midlife crisis sort of scenarios. But you don't build your house in a trial. You keep moving forward while recognizing the positive things along the way.
Yes, I would like to add something to that. Something that I found is very important is focusing on the positive doesn't mean that you're numbing yourself to what you're feeling. For instance, when I was going through all that hardship, my family was being torn apart. I had lost a relationship. We were struggling financially. I felt very sad a lot of the time, and I let myself feel that way because in order to move through it, you need to be able to feel it. And so, for instance, like setting up camp to me means like choosing to not feel that and choosing to just kind of like dwell on it, but not move past it and allow it to move through you. That's how I see that, what you're saying. Is that what you mean, Joshua?
Yeah, definitely. Like there's what's the phrase I'm looking for? Bottling. You don't want you don't want to bottle it up. Bottles are made for waters, for drinks, but not for your emotions. And the problem with bottling things up, eventually that bottle, no matter how great your internal bottle making skills are, eventually it gets full and eventually it will burst. So, that's not what you want to do. And so basically what Melia was saying was equivalent to, opening it up, taking some out. I'm not going to pour it on my floor, but you get the picture. Taking some out and then, emptying that bottle, being able to release some of that. And so that's definitely an important piece of the puzzle. And another piece that goes along with that is, and this is one that can really, really get you happy. Just thinking about it put a smile on my face. But it's imagine yourself once you're through the trial. You need to imagine the you who has conquered the trial, the you who has conquered the challenge. Imagine what you as that diamond will look like. Imagine how pure you'll be after the trial. Think on that person. Think towards that vision and focus on that. You see, there's a saying, and it's that you will never be motivated to become that which you cannot imagine yourself to be. So if you do not see yourself getting better, if you do not see yourself overcoming the trial, it will be hard for you to be motivated to become better, to overcome the trial. A lot of people set up camp inside of the challenge. A lot of people set up camp inside of the trial, not because they want to, not because they like the trial. They hate it. The reason they set it up is because they don't feel that they can overcome the trial. They don't even really try because they can't see themselves overcoming the trial. They can't see themselves getting through the trial. And if you don't see yourself doing that, that's what leads to setting up camp. So exercise your imagination. What do you look like after you come out? I'll tell you, using the example I gave earlier, my family, like, we imagined ourselves financially stable, all the clothes, shoes that we needed, just food, hot food. Like, we imagined the whole 9 yards, and that's what we prayed for, that's what we worked towards, and that's the vision that we kept in front of our eyes. And even though physically, we were seeing well, not much of anything because the lights were off, but mentally and really in here, we were seeing so much more. We were seeing ourselves where we are today. And going to that point, I mean, literally what we imagined ourselves to be, like, we have accomplished that and moving beyond that. And we saw ourselves here when it looked like we had no chance of getting past where we were, let alone getting here. And in spite of that, we saw ourselves here. We were motivated to go for it. We went for it, and then we got here. And so, when you find yourself, like, for example, like Melia said earlier, like with having gone through the breakup in her relationship, when you find yourself, feeling alone and in those sort of situations, it can be a comfort to know that there is somebody out there for you. A great person who's going to love you and who you're going to love. And, and you start thinking about that, and you can actually find yourself getting so happy inside just thinking and imagining yourself where you'll be once you get through the trial. And then, and so when you imagine yourself like that, one of the benefits is that you will begin to act like future you now. What I mean is that when you have the diamond mindset, you're in the trial, you're in the furnace. You've got those impurities, right, that are being burned out in the furnace. When you imagine how pure you'll be on the outside of the furnace, once you go through it, you'll start acting like that pure diamond now. And that has power. We didn't act like we were poor, broke, low down, disgusted, hanging our heads low wherever we went, or or any of that sort of stuff. We still carried ourselves well. We didn't let our circumstances dictate who we were. We decided who we were based on what we imagined ourselves to be. And our actions followed our thought process. And your actions decide your outcome. And so we had actions that were based on the thought process of us being in a better place. So we acted out on that, and the outcome is determined by our actions. So then by acting out on that, we made the outcome become that. And so that's just another reason why I really believe that being able to see yourself on the other side, being able to see yourself getting through, is a very, very, very important part of the puzzle.
Yeah, agreed. That's definitely a huge thing that helped me pull through every hardship in my life, is to have a long-term vision of who I am becoming. And yeah, it's true, you become that in the moment, and it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And I would so then the part two, then I guess we could say to that the paper or the phone that you all have, is write down on that, who are you on the other side of this trial? Who do you want to be? Who do you see yourself as? That diamond that is you, that is more pure on the other side of the trial, what does it look like? What does it look like? Write that down. Describe it. You might be in a financial situation right now. What do your financial situation look like once you're through this trial? What does your house look like? What does your car look like? You might be through a relationship problem right now. What does your relationship look like once you're through this trial? In the same way, whatever your situation might be, whatever it may be, that the second part of it, write down what you imagine yourself to be on the other side of that trial. And so, saying that, I'm actually scrolling here a little bit in my notes. Whoops. I just almost dropped my phone, people.
That would have been a big storm.
Yeah. Okay, now it doesn't want to stay up. There we go. Haha. All right. In summation, you've heard multiple things that we've talked about, but there are a few points that, just stand out and I'd like for everybody to really take away. And one is that our decisions inside of the trial, our decision to be happy, our decision to have that diamond mindset is what will determine the outcome of the trial. If we will be refined by the trial and come out better, or if we will be destroyed by the trial or set up camp in the trial. Communicating to yourself that you are valuable, you are strong, you are that diamond. Don't let your trial dictate to you who you are. That's extremely important. And we'll probably hit this in another video, but poor is a mindset. So is rich. They're mindsets. They're not physical states of being. You can take a poor man, give him a rich mindset, and the money will follow. You can take a man with a poor mindset, give him a lot of money, and the money will leave. It happens all the time when people win the lottery. Mm-hmm. You take, you take people who have a poor mindset. Poor is not the status of their bank account. Poor is the status of their person. And you give them money, and then you watch their surroundings, their outcome gets dictated by their actions, which is based on their thoughts, which is based on their person. And so again, even if you're in a trial where the situation says poor, you choose rich. Whatever the situation may be, whether it's financial related or, any other situation, you choose in here, and then the actions and the mindset and the actions will follow. Our greatest victories are found on the other side of our greatest trials, and that's something to always keep in mind. It's that and here's another tidbit of how the diamond mindset is, the way the diamond thinks. It's that the bigger, the tougher, the harder, the hotter the challenge, the greater the victory on the other side. So whatever you're going through right now, whatever that is that you've written down or that you've typed down on that paper, on your pad or whatnot, keep in mind, look at it. The harder it is, the greater your victory is going to be. Think about that for a second. It should put a smile on your face.
Is gratitude and appreciation, finding those tiny, even if they're very small things that are positive about the situation, and even focusing on the people around me. Another is just breathing deeply, just taking a moment to reconnect with that vision of where I'm going, who I am becoming, and what the rewards are going to be. And just spending time with that. Also is like going outdoors, going hiking, just getting out and letting yourself relax. These are some huge things for me.
That's a really big one for me too. I mean, it's something like touching about on the nature one especially. Like there's something about just going into nature, and it can be a really freeing experience. It can you get the opportunity to clear your mind. You get the opportunity to have a respite, if you will, just from some of the things that are going on, and there's just a sort of tranquility there. And that's a good place to make some of these good decisions that we're talking about here. You take some time away. It can be a few minutes, it can be an hour, it can be a day, whatever have you, and write it down. Take a moment, take a deep breath, breathe.
Yeah.
It's like
Well, spending time outdoors, it's been proven that it actually increases your creativity and decreases your stress. So it'll help you make better decisions, really like get through that trial in the most effective way possible. So that's what I tell myself when I'm trying to decide if I want to go out hiking or not. I'm like, oh, I just want to sit on the couch, but I never regret going on an adventure. So
Yes, neither do I.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually was just on one in a bat cave recently. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I put the video up already. But yeah, it was super super fun. Like, it was so cool. But yeah, though. So one of the things, actually, it was funny because the bat cave actually in a way relates to what I'm about to say. But when I went there to the bat cave, I was there with friends, and friends who have a really quite a positive outlook on life, just as far as the way they go about things, the way they carry themselves. And one of the important things that I would like to also emphasize is that who you hang around is going to help determine your mindset. The people who are influencing you will determine your mindset. And there's a phrase that I've quoted a bit. Some of you who know me in person have heard me quote this as president of PTK, but it's simply this: it's that take a look at the 5 closest people to you. If you want to know where your life will be in the next 5 years, take a look at the 5 closest people to you, because your life will never rise above those of the people who have your ears. Because the only thing that their advice, the only thing that the interactions with them can produce in your life is more of what they've already have in their lives. So that's why it's important for you to, when you're looking at your top 5, is what I call them, your close 5, when something goes on, who do you turn to? Who's the girl, the guy, who you go to? These are your top 5. When you're looking at your top 5, you want to make sure, it is vitally important that you have people with a diamond mindset as your top 5. It is extremely important, because two people can't walk together except they agree as one. If you're with somebody who does not have a diamond mindset, if you're with somebody who has set up camp in the challenge or set up camp in the trial, the only way for you to continue with that person is for either them. If you have a diamond mindset, the only way for you to continue with that person is for them to either move forward and develop a diamond mindset, or for you to lose yours. Who you hang out with or who you in a relationship with is extremely important in PTK. But basically, we wrote out, I had my entire group write out their top 5 on a list. And what they did is they did a few things. So they had the names, and I encourage you all to do this, but they had the names of the top 5 people in their lives. And then they had 2 columns next to it. And then one was for good or bad as far as the person's concerned, and towards or away as far as their vision was concerned. And so now here's one of the hard things when it comes to choosing a top 5, is that not everybody who does not have a diamond mindset is a bad person. There are a lot of really nice, even sometimes, really sweet people who do not have diamond mindsets. And so what we did is we differentiated between being someone who takes us towards and away from our vision, and someone who's a good or bad person. Because you could have somebody who's a great person but will completely and totally stop you from reaching your vision. And that's very key to remember. So what I would encourage you to do, again, so you write the list of the names, and then you put either G or B for good or bad, and you put T or or A for towards or away as far as your vision is concerned, or as far as helping you have a diamond mindset is concerned. And what I like you to do, so after you do that, look at that list, like, and be brutally honest with yourself, okay? And look at that list. If you have more aways on that list than you have towards, there's some changes that you should think about making. And again, we're only talking about the top 5 people in your life. We're not talking about everybody who you hang out with, everybody, you know, who you conversate with. We're just talking about top 5, okay? We're all going to know some people who are, you know, who they aren't top 5, they're not top 10, they might not even be top 15, but we, you know, they're cool to hang around, we go out places with them, and they might be away people, but, you know, we're not hanging out with them enough for their aways to affect us. You know, we all have those people. But when you're talking about your top 5, you need to work seriously so that everyone in your top 5 is a towards, especially if you're talking about someone you're in a relationship with, like a romantic relationship with. It becomes especially important then. I've actually seen situations where you have a woman who is diamond mindset, and she's with a guy who set up camp in his trials, and then they got married. And so, you know, that caused, you know, a stringent relationship, because she's trying to move through the trial and out on the other side. He set up camp inside of the trial, and eventually either the relationship's going, again, how can 2 walk together except they agree as one? Either the relationship will break, he's going to move with her, or she's going to stay with him. In the particular situation that I'm thinking about right now, she ended up staying with him, and now they're both set up camp inside of the challenge, inside of the trial. And it's been years, and they have not gotten through that particular trial, because again, they have set up camp in the trial. So, but on the flip side of that, you know, you have somebody who's diamond mindset, you get with someone else who's diamond mindset, and everything that you can, all these great things Melia's talked about, all these great things I've talked about that you can accomplish with a diamond mindset, like, you know, for example, with me and my family, and, you know, just all these different things you've heard, that gets like greatly compounded. It gets multiplied, not added to, multiplied when you are in a relationship with someone else of a diamond mindset. So we've had three different you know, sections on that paper, if you will, and so that would be the final piece, I would say, or, you know, to help round that out. And, you know, doing these things will definitely help you as far as having that happiness in the midst of the storm and coming through it a better you.
I've definitely noticed that is, like, that's something that I also live by, is making sure that people around me have similar goals and that they're willing to move through them and move through the trials. I mean, so it's always a great reminder. And yeah, I mean, I think that you definitely covered that very thoroughly. So,
all right.
Anything else to add?
All right, cool. Okay, so then with that being said, we're gonna wrap up this video here. Thank you, Melia, for coming out and being a part of the video today.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right.
Wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. You might be seeing some future videos where, you know, featuring Melia and everything like that. And just thank you, everybody, for watching. If you have any questions, any comments for either Melia or myself, post them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I will see all of you soon.
Bye.
All right.